What's up, Giants fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I want to talk a little bit about the roster bubble ahead of the Giants' final upcoming preseason game against the New York Jets, kind of how practices have been going, injured players, roster moves, you name it. We've got it all for you here today on this episode of Big Blue Avenue. Folks, make sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. We appreciate everybody's support. So first and foremost, let's talk about the moves that have gone down over the last couple of days. The Giants have brought in defensive tackle Kyler Baugh and linebacker Trey Kaiser as of earlier this week. Baugh, a 2024 UDFA from the New Orleans Saints, was waived. Had 3.5 sacks and 5.5 tackles for loss with the Minnesota Golden Gophers last year, final collegiate season. And Trey Kaiser, 2024 UDFA out of South Alabama, was waived by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's interesting to see these moves made. Ryder Anderson got waived with an injury designation. A lot of people, myself included, had him making the initial 53-man roster. Anderson was a UDFA back in 2022, spent a lot of time on the practice squad the last season. I thought he was going to make the team for sure. I believe the Giants are going to try to bring him back and put him on the reserved/injured list if he does clear waivers. Dennis Houston also got waived with an injury designation. So the Giants have some holes to fill, most notably the cornerback 2 position opposite of Deonte Banks. So right now, folks, Cordell Flott is nursing an injury, not ideal. He is week to week with a quad, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Right now, Nick McLeod, a special teams juggernaut over the last 2 seasons, has been seeing first-team reps opposite of second-year corner Deonte Banks. So right now, the injuries aren't pretty. So most notably, Cordell Flott, as I mentioned, Drew Lock nursing a hip issue, didn't practice on Wednesday. Micah McFadden, week to week with a hip injury as well, has a chance to be ready for week 1. Gunnar Olszewski out for a while with a groin issue. It pretty much paves a roster spot open for Isaiah McKenzie. And Lawrence Cager week to week with a groin injury, which makes the tight end battle a lot more interesting. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. John Runyon is back practicing with a shoulder injury. But right now, I have 39 locks to make the Giants roster. I'll go over them quickly. So Jones and Locke are the 2 locks, no pun intended. Singletary, Gray, and Tracy at the running back position. I only have 4 receivers as locks right now with Neighbors, Slayton Hyatt, and Wandale. The 2 tight ends with Daniel Bellinger and Theo Johnson. Linemen, I have 8 locks. A.T., Illuminor, Runyon, Van Roten, Schmitz, Neal, Stinney, Schlottman. Schlottman, they signed to a 2-year deal. That's why he's a lock. Defensively, Lawrence, Nacho, and Jordan Riley. In the middle, I think Chatman, the UDFA out of SMU, is surprisingly making his case known to be a lock as well, which is insane for a rookie minicamp tryout guy. I think Boogie Basham's a lock at this point. I don't think Benton Whitley could beat him. Ojulari, Thibodeau, and Burns, although Aziz is potentially on the trade market, entering a contract year. Linebackers, Okereke, McFadden, and Muasau. Corners, only 3, Banks, Flott, and Phillips as locks. Safeties, Pinnock, Newman, Belton, and of course Isaiah Simmons, who interchanges between the DB and the linebacker role. Gano, Gill, and Kreider. On the bubble, I have 10 guys on the bubble that I'm leaning towards in as of right now, and they're as follows. Tommy DeVito, I think the Giants will carry 3 quarterbacks. Locke is hurt. Jones, injury history. DeVito knows the system. Do not risk him hitting waivers. Isaiah McKenzie as that 5th wide receiver right now. Chris Manhertz as the number 3 tight end. Elijah Chatman as the 4th interior defensive lineman. Josh Azudu, only because he was a 3rd-round draft pick 2 years ago. I think he's a step ahead of guys like Josh Miles and Matt Nelson. Of course, with Yadni Kajust hitting the injured list as well. Carter Coughlin, he hasn't played much this preseason training camp, but he is back trending towards playing against the Jets. It'll be much needed. Matt Adams, core special teamer, despite his injury. Nick McLeod, Trey Hawkins, and Javarius Owens, the 2 latter because they were late-round draft picks last season. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens for Big Blue. Previewing the game against the Jets, I don't know if we're going to see the starters play much. Will Tommy DeVito get the full game? I don't know. Will we see Daniel Jones and the starters for a quarter? Right now, the Jets have announced they're not playing their starters on Saturday. The Giants did not look great in practice on either side of the ball on Wednesday, so it'll be interesting to see who goes out there and plays. Other injuries amongst roster bubble players. Marcus McKeithen has an undisclosed injury. He's on the wrong side of the bubble right now. I think he's almost a lock to not make the roster. Deontay Johnson, who was a potential candidate to make the initial 53, is week to week with an ankle. Not a good sign for a bubble player, although he is trending towards returning. Question is when. Dante Turbo Miller with a hamstring. He's limited. He won't make the initial 53, in my opinion. If they do keep fourth backs, it'll be that Jakob Johnson guy they got from the Raiders, who's a fullback / tight end. So right now it's going to be interesting to see. I'll have my initial 53-man roster projection after the Jets preseason game. It'll likely be out some point on Sunday. Cut down day is on Tuesday, 4 p.m., I believe, so it's going to be very interesting to see. Appreciate you all tuning into this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Who do you think has the most to gain and most to lose in Saturday night's preseason game against the Jets? How do you feel about the cornerback position, a position the Giants are likely to claim off of waivers? And what do you think about the defensive line depth with Ryder Anderson getting waived? Will Elijah Chatman be that fourth defensive lineman? Will they keep a fifth defensive lineman? Right now, it's not looking good for DJ Davidson, former day 3 draft pick. Folks, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. We appreciate all of your support as always. We're looking forward to the season. Just a couple weeks away at this point. Super, super stoked. And without further ado, let's go Big Blue.